Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. Happy holidays to all of you guys. I want to just wish you the best. I hope that you're having a wonderful week. Hope you're getting a lot of things done. Hope you're staying gritty. I want to now open up the podcast and talk with you guys about first a couple of announcements, and then we will get on our way with our topic of the day. So first things first, the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on Spotify and all of the social media platforms. So check it out. My social media platforms for you guys that are interested: Facebook is Miss India White, LinkedIn is the India White, Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach, Instagram is Indie238, YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. Please check out my website. I have so many different resources on there for you guys for the latest books, blogs, and to schedule me for a speaking or coaching event. Thank you to those that have been reaching out to me. I'm thrilled that, people are already looking into 2025 to get me on the calendars. Thank you so much for these opportunities. Also, I wanted to remind you guys of a couple of events that I have coming up already. Thank you to those that have asked me to speak from the FAMT conference in Florida. Also, super excited about South Carolina, going out there and seeing you guys there. I will see you guys in Atlanta at the NAPSI conference. Also at the Making Math Moments virtual conference. I'm excited to see you guys at that as well. And there's a wonderful lineup there. So if you guys can register to hear the various speakers, please support all of us there. And the works that we're doing. Also, the Grit Mini Workshop, Grassroots Grit Mini Workshop. Thank you to the few of you that have done that. I know people are still getting wind of it. So please hit it up whenever you get a chance. And also reminding you guys of the Grit Academy. If you're wanting students to be tutored throughout the week or throughout the year, please contact me and I will be here for you guys. Now, with that said, I do want to go right into the topic today of just not only just this is more for educators because I think, we've been really gritty. We've been really just plowing away. But I want to talk about the topic of self-love for teachers. Again, we're going to talk about self-love for teachers. Why am I talking about this? Well, we're in a day and age where people want productivity and it's all about business. It could be to the point that you're running yourself into the ground to do that next lesson plan, to do teacher duties, to grade those papers late into the wee hours of the night, even, over the weekend, which, especially first year teachers, you totally understand that. But sometimes we're neglecting ourselves to the point where it could be detrimental. And I just need teachers to understand, we love your grit. I think it's great, but we need to also refocus and focus on self-love, self-care for ourselves. So with that said, I do want to start off by, I'll share a little bit of my story, which many of you know, but when I first started teaching, I remember I would come to school, at the allotted time, but sometimes I would not leave my classroom until about 8 p.m. Because I was so busy with lesson plans and grading, and I wanted to make sure everything was just right. But one thing I found about teaching, the art of teaching, is that there's always something that you can change. There's always something that you can add. It's just ever changing. It's always evolving. And when you finally accept that, and you accept your lot in the space of teaching, which if you're an educator, all of us have a role, no matter your background or whatever. Some of us, thank you to those that have supported me in my role of grit, in my role of equitable practices and things like that. All of us have our niche, our area, our lane, and we just have to continue in that, right? So with that said, even though we all have our area, students change, generations change. Like Gen Z, I mean, they came up with a whole new language. Like there's so much with Gen Zs, right? And I love Gen Zs. But the thing is, it just goes to show that there's always going to be change and a demand for, innovation in education. So there's also this pressure to feel that we have to put out 150% every single day. But, I had a wonderful, wonderful mentor of mine who she told me she was, I think, in her late 30s or 40s when she had a stroke. And it's because she didn't listen to her body and she just kept going and she was giving her all. She was left with this situation. She was forced by her doctors to slow down. And so I'm bringing this to you guys because I know that we're in a very just critical grade book season, things like that. Many of us are traveling around for conferences, and sometimes your body is telling you, okay, it's time to pump brakes and chill out, right? Or life, So with that said, I want to encourage all of you, continue to be awesome, but listen to yourself in this season and make sure that you still have self-care in spite of your amazing grit and resilience and the great things that you're getting done. Listen to yourself. And also, don't be afraid to communicate with those that you work with, those that, are your loved ones and things like that. Don't be afraid to communicate and tell them, hey, I've got to pause on this, or I need a couple of days. Those that are really with you will understand and will adjust. And if they're not, then that's writing on the wall that you should consider, having your talent and services somewhere else. So with that said, I'm going to go into tips for self-love. This is coming from me. So first things first, listen to your body. Are you having pains? Are you having, are you stiff, tense? I remember when I was, first as an administrator and I was not seasoned as to, how to prep for the job. And I was working long hours, getting up late or getting up early, staying up late. And I remember like clockwork every Thursday or it was about every Thursday or every other Thursday, my body would just freeze. Like, I don't know what they call that. I'm not a medical doctor, but I could not move. All I could do was like lift my head a little bit, right? And that was it. And my body was done. And I mean, I was in my 20s, going through that. And I remembered I had to listen to my body. No, I could not go into work. I was like trying to survive, like literally. And sometimes, we work ourselves to a pulp because that's just the nature of the work that we do. There's shortage of staff, which I think some of that could be avoided if there weren't so many gatekeepers that are intentional at keeping particular folks out. But long story short, we have to listen to our body. Make sure we're taking care of our body. Make sure that we're exercising, drinking our water, being easy on the coffee and the teas and all that, because we don't want to overdo it. I mean, there's nothing like a pumpkin spice latte. I get it. But sometimes we have to check ourselves and make sure that we're intaking enough healthy things and that we're watching our portion sizes so that we have the energy that we need throughout the day to be successful. So there's that. But then, of course, listening and following good energy and good energy. I have a couple of really good friends that they just make me laugh. And they are just so positive and wonderful. And they always have something good to say. The vibe is awesome and open. I can be open around them. Not everybody is that way, right? So when I say follow good energy, if you are trying to put yourself in the presence of energy, people that they come around you and they're like energy vampires, they just suck all of your energy, or they don't appreciate you or receive your energy. So like you come around them and then they act like there's just some huge issue and the vibe is off and weird. I can't stand it. Right. And people that, they have whatever going on in their mind. And so it's affecting their ability to be, I guess, emotionally intelligent and have the maturity that they need to operate professionally. And some people will even, they think that, see, I always tell people meet you before they meet you. You don't think they do, but they do. People aren't stupid. People can vibe you out, and they can tell if we're fake, They can tell if we have a bias or we have an issue, we have a hatred. All of that stuff it speaks volumes. And it's funny because, sometimes we try to separate ourselves and, be professional, but it's reeking out still, so we have to be careful to follow good energy. But even if we are distancing ourselves for whatever reason, making sure that we're doing it in a way that's not detrimental to others, and making sure that we are also giving off good energy. I think that's one thing we're not really mindful of is how do we, come off as, whenever we are teaching students or working with parents and interacting with other people. I think it's just something that we have to just kind of be more conscious about and, just see like, how am I? Am I doing all right? Or, do I need to take a step back? What do I need to do? And just check ourselves. Also, stop knocking on closed doors. So many people are putting in resumes. They're trying to sign up for different things. They're wanting different opportunities, but the writing is on the wall that the door is closed. So it's hard to accept it, but you just gotta have to accept. If the door is closed, continue to be grateful because you don't know what you're being protected from, and continue to knock until you get into the right door. Sometimes things happen to you, and sometimes you're in an event or some kind of whatever for a reason or for a season or for a lifetime. Don't cry over spilled milk. Just be thankful. Be thankful for whatever opportunities you did have, or if there wasn't an opportunity, then be thankful for the protection and for the redirection of a closed door. So, so with that said, this leads me also into the opposite, learning to say no. So if you have gone through any type of trauma or any type of rejection or whatever, you might fall under the category of being like a people pleaser where you always say yes, yes, everything's free, well, I'm just here as a math friend to say, sometimes you have to learn to say no. If people are wanting you to, do certain things for free or not pay you or not validate your contributions, then I would learn to say no as much as you can. Sometimes you have to say yes, and the situation is not as wonderful as you like, but you're grateful for an opportunity kind of thing. I get that. But I'm talking about something like they want you to go and speak for free at some school that's like, 5 states away, and you're speaking to like 20 kids. I would not sign up for something like that. Now I know some people say, oh, well, you can speak for free and then it opens up doors. Well, that's case by case. But at the same time, I think, you've got to really like consider the whole situation. See, why are you saying yes? I have a friend, Dan, who talks about it's either a heck yes or it's a no with everything that you do in life. And so if it's not a heck yes, then don't go for it. If it's not something that's like overwhelming, like, oh, wow, then don't do it. As wonderful as it might seem, put limits on these things. And then there's prioritizing your family and goals. I am so thankful for the work I have been doing as an educator, as a textbook author and all this stuff. But I must say, especially after this hurricane and stuff, my family is first. And I have a very healthy relationship with my family. I feel very whole about it. And I feel like in the core of me, I feel solid, if that makes sense, that I feel stable when it comes down to my relationships with my family, my emotions towards my family. And yes, it's taking me time. It's taking me counseling, therapy, all that good stuff to get to this place. But I think that, as we are teaching, we also have to validate or value our family and have some type of like, how are you with your family? How are those relationships? Because I think that that's another attribute of leadership is being able to heal and have solid, healthy relationships, especially to those that are closest to us, which are our friends and our family. So it's something to consider, before we put ourselves out here, making sure that we're stable in those regards as well. So those are just my tips for self-love. And I hope that you guys are able to get something out of that. Now, I want to show a lady who she did a TED Talk, and she's talking about self-care. And I thought it was very interesting what she had to say. So let's listen to her. So it says, using 5 minutes of self-care to survive burnout. Her name is Raquel Armstrong.
Lung cancer. You couldn't have told me at 25 years old I would be facing such a difficult fate. My doctor's confused without the typical markers of a lung cancer patient. How could I be facing such a difficult diagnosis? But on that day, my heartbeat was trying to communicate a message to me that my body had been trying to tell me for a long time, that I had failed to take care of myself. As a public school educator, I thought that it was my responsibility to devote all of my time and talents to the community that I was serving. I would spend extra time attending the extracurriculars of my students, volunteering for committees so that I could be an advocate and a voice for the families that I served, all the while not finding balance for myself.
That part, exactly what she said. It is addictive to go to school events, stay 30 minutes extra, reason with ourselves. But look at this situation here. She was battling, she said, lung cancer and didn't even know it. But she was a rock star teacher. And now she's here telling us the truth about self-care. So let's keep listening.
And taking care of my needs. And on that day, my heartbeat was the reminder that I needed to put myself first. Fast forward, I am now in cancer treatment. I'm thinking, I got this. I'm going to chemotherapy, still volunteering on all the committees, and still going to work. Meanwhile, that heartbeat, it was still beating irregularly because I was still not prioritizing my care. And I thought, as a Black woman, I have to work twice as hard as my peers to show that I am capable. And then taking a step back would show that maybe I wasn't strong enough to do that.
That's very powerful and very true in many BIPOC communities, of this thing of we work so hard, but yet you have to work twice as hard to even be considered. Unfortunately, that is still something that many Black and BIPOC women unfortunately experience. But I think that, we're getting closer to people starting to see the value of BIPOC leadership, at a deeper level.
The work. So I kept pushing until one day I could not get up. I was trying to get ready for work and my body lay there lifeless.
Oh my gosh.
I told myself, get up. But all I could do was lay there and feel that same rhythm of my heartbeat. And that was the reminder I needed to put myself first. And I am not alone. According to a study from the University of Pennsylvania, 1 in 2 Black women face chronic illness due to stress.
Please see that and take care of the Black women among you. I'm sure I'm sure all groups face chronic illness, but just because she highlighted this particular demographic, I think it's imperative to stop and pause there. So basically half the Black women you meet are dealing with something.
Imagine if 1 out of 2 Black women that you know cannot control the rhythm of their heartbeat every day and then have to show up to work or other spaces that they occupy and wonder if people think that they are not competent or do not belong there. That is the experience of one of my friends. Fast forward, I am now in 1 to 2 years in remission. And I'm catching up. Thank you. I am 1 to 2 years in remission, and I'm catching up with my girlfriends. And one of them tells me that they've just been diagnosed with a chronic illness. They're on 3 different medications, and they are simply tired.
Too much.
Now, I'm thinking it's my job to tell her, you've got to prioritize your care. Take time for yourself. But she tells me taking time does not put food on her table, clothes on her back,
Woo.
or pay for that health care that she needs to prioritize her care. And once again, I am reminded that for many, especially Black women, self-care is considered a luxury and not essential for our survival.
Wow.
Fast forward, we are now in the COVID-19 pandemic. And though we have navigated this difficult time together, for many people, we have learned to prioritize language around self-care. We started to talk about boundaries between work and home, prioritizing time with friends and family. Meanwhile, according to a study by the Brookings Institute, Black women are
Yeah.
still 3 times more likely to leave the job due to stress since the pandemic. Imagine if tomorrow all the Black women you knew were no longer in the spaces that they occupy, simply because they are tired of being hypervisible and invisible all at the same time. That is the experience of another one of my friends. We were catching up since the isolation of the pandemic, and she tells me she quit her job. Now, I look at her in shock because I'm like, I know she takes care of more than just herself, but also her family. But she tells me that a paycheck is not worth her sanity, and she is tired of being expected to show up to be all things to all people. Meanwhile, those same people didn't see her for who she was. And you know what? She was right. For her, leaving the job was that thing that allowed her to slow her heartbeat down. And while we don't want people to leave the spaces, we have to find that thing that allows us to slow our heartbeat down.
And that's why I spoke about, whether that is your family or, your friends, things like that. And I think it's imperative too. She talked about slowing, your heartbeat down. And I would say too, some other self-care options, getting a massage, having a counselor, having a girls' night, just things that takes your mind off of all the seriousness of life is key. I think for those that work with Black women, and I didn't expect this to pivot this way, but thank you to those that do value Black women. We'll put it like that. Thank you to those that give Black women empowerment and space. Like I know we have the Black Women in Math group, which thank you to everyone that has embraced us. And I would say to those that, you're still, maybe you have some qualms about working with Black women or, some qualms about working with dark people. I would just challenge you to see how can you work beyond those qualms, enjoying this force of love and this force of empathy and this force of collaboration, because we are getting a lot of great things done and we would love to have you. We would love to partner with you. So I just think it's very interesting what she's talking about here regarding self-love. And I think it's very interesting. So I guess I'll watch a little bit more of her and then we'll go into some self-care tips.
For me, it was finding 5 minutes. 5 minutes to slow my heartbeat, clear my mind, and shed all the anxiety I was experiencing every day. In 5 minutes, you probably spend more time scrolling social media, getting your kids ready, or any of the other to-do things on your list every day. In 5 minutes, I was able to calm my mind and spirit and set myself up for the day. And that was the start to recentering myself for my self-care journey. And from there, I went back to therapy to bounce my ideas off of someone else who could help give me clarity about what I was experiencing. And then I took the trip, y'all. Took the vacation so that I could see what the world had for me beyond my go, go, go of my everyday existence. For you, it might be something else. An online mental health podcast, a fitness class. Whatever it is, you've got to find that thing that slows your heartbeat down and allows you to put yourself first.
So I'm going to stop there. I think that's amazing what she's talking about. And there's a lot we can take from her with just in general. Slowing down. We have to slow down. We have to slow down. We have to slow down. So With that said, I now want to talk to us about some self-care tips that I was able to find for us just doing some digging. And let's look at this together, guys. So, practicing self-care 5 tips for teachers. So this is by Brittany Newcomer. And so she says here, as an educator, you're constantly navigating changes and challenges. From dealing with sudden schedule shifts to managing student behavior, you have a lot to juggle each day. On top of it all, you're trying to keep up with the needs of your students and your own life. It's understandable if you feel overwhelmed. You may be looking on ideas as to how to practice self-care or how to find time, right, to practice self-care. So here are some 5 strategies. First things first, she says, set and maintain boundaries. From planning lessons to calling families, teachers often take their work home with them, right? But it says students often use graphic organizers to organize information. So we can use the same type of strategy to help us to stay, organized with our boundaries. And one thing I used to do is I used to set the alarm, and when the clock hit, I think it was like 4:30, I made myself get up and go. I did not care because it was just, I had to. I had a family, I have children. And I think that, I had to prioritize that, being a mom. And we have to do the same, right? And so it says here, for example, when the when-then state or sentences, they can help you set and maintain boundaries. So you might say, when I finish writing the class newsletter, then I'll take a short walk. Good. So you're giving yourself a little, you're holding yourself accountable, staying gritty, but then you're also pacing it. Okay. And then here, schedule time for meals and actually turn off the computer during that time. Another thing, you might have to lock your door during lunch, especially because kids love you. Rock out to you, rock star teachers, but you're going to have to put a boundary so that you get a break during the day where there's no one around you. I mean, it's just a lot of energy to have taken out of you the whole day, right? And then here, acknowledging moments of gratitude and joy. That's the second one. So it says, look for moments of joy and connection and hold on to them. Try writing down humorous moments, something that made you smile. You can write down moments in a journal or jot them down on a note on your desk, right? So that's another thing. I love journaling. I think it's great. I think it's healthy. You get to detox. You get to leave all that on the paper and keep it moving. Next, reflect on your feelings and needs. It says here, it's important to recognize and name your emotions. Name that feeling and why you may be feeling that way. Think about what you might need at that moment and in the future, right? So, for instance, I'm feeling overwhelmed because there's a lot of information about the new technology my school is using. I need a 5-minute break. Then I need to write down my questions and identify a person on the team to solve the problem with. Okay, that's great. So, and then it says here, take time for yourself each day to do something that's not technology related. That's something that they would do if you're dealing with like a technological situation. Here, this is very powerful. Recognize what is and isn't in your control. So you might be worried about how being exposed to stressful or bad news affects your students' learning. So write down a T-chart. Write down what is in your control and what isn't in your control. Okay? And then the last thing, use self-care routines throughout your day. Starting in your day with self-care practices can be very helpful. Gentle stretches, guided meditation, calming music playing in the background, like music of like water, like a water running in the back, like that calm water over rocks or something, or like a waterfall or rain, or even jazz, Christmassy jazz type of music, over the fireplace. All those things are really cool and they work. And then it says here, try this deep breathing exercise for teachers as a midday break. There's also a self-care infographic. So there you have it about the self-care. I think those are some really neat tips that they gave us. And so I just want to say this out of love, guys. Continue to rock it out. Continue to go to your conferences. Continue to speak. Thank you to those that support all of us for all that we do, all in our different veins. We're going to keep it healthy. We're going to continue to collaborate, work together. and just, continue to listen to ourselves, listen to our bodies. Like I said before, follow good energy. We're not going to knock on closed doors. We're going to learn to say no, and we're going to prioritize our family and our goals. So with that said, guys, thanks so much for tuning in again on the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. G.R.I.T. This podcast will be aired on all of my social media outlets, and you can also find it on Spotify. So thank you to those that have been watching. Feel free to connect with me on social media. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube's India White 123. TikTok is Dr. India White. I've got a couple of events I'll see you guys at: FAMT, SCCTM, NABC, and Making Math Moments Virtual Conference. Please register for those if you have not. I would love to see you guys. And of course, I come with gifts, so I'm excited. Also, the Grassroots Mini Workshop, please check that out. It's about grit. You might be able to just search the name grit and find it. And then I've launched the Grit Academy. It's the online tutoring and learning. So come join us. I'd love to tutor your students and help out. Okay, so and check out my website also if I didn't tell you that, www.india-white.com. I would love to have you there. There are so many really cool things on the website that I've got for you guys. If you're looking for a blog or you're looking for resources, I do also have a new resource that I'm offering you guys. It's my grit sheet. You can find it on my website. And it has so many different resources of grit around it. If you're wanting more, from, discounts on the workbook, to grit certificates for students that are doing awesome. Also, there are grit assessments on the sheet. There's like so many different things. So just reach out to me if you're looking for that. You can send me an email at india.white.123@gmail.com. And I'll make sure you get that. Okay. So with that said, guys, you guys have been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for listening to my episode today on self-care for teachers. And so with that said, stay gritty. See ya.